Okay. Um, so virtualization is in cloud computing. Virtualization in cloud computing allows to provided to virtual server storage or other physical hardware or data center resource, which can then in the allow them to provide numerous services such as infrastructure, software, and platform. So virtualization allows to share single physical instance of resource on or application among multiple customers and organization at one time. It does not think by assigning a logical name to physical storage and providing a pointer to physical resource on demand. Virtualization is a technique of how to separate service from the underlying physical delivery of data service. It is the process of creating a virtualization version of something like computer hardware. It was initially developed during the mainframe era. It involves using a specialization software to create a virtual software, created versions of computing resource rather than the actual version of some resource. With the help of virtualization, multiple operating system and application can run on same virtual and its same hardware at the same time. So increasing an utilization and flexibility of hardware. In other words, one of the main cost-effective hardware reducing and energy-saving techniques used by cloud provider is virtualization allows to share single physical instance of resource or an application among multiple customers and organizations at one time. It does not mean assign the local name and physical storage and providing a pointer and physical. So virtualization is use hardware reducing and energy saving techniques. So you can say it is a energy saving techniques and reducing the hardware use. Okay. So, resource on demand. The term of virtualization is often synonymous with the hardware virtualization, which plays a fundamental role in efficiently delivering infrastructure, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So, in virtualization, infrastructure as a service are play role. You know very well the meaning of the IaaS, right? So, we have discussed in my previous lecture also, and so it is used to storage and providing pointers to the physical resource on demands, which means virtualization is used for. So here virtualization offer hardware virtualization, which plays fundamental role in delivering IaaS solution for cloud computing. Moreover, virtualization technology provide a virtual environment for not only running or executing application but also storage, memory, and networking. So virtualization environment is we provide the virtualization environment for which purpose, like executing the application and storage purpose and memory and networking. Here virtualization are take place. Okay. So let's discuss about benefits of virtualization. So it is a more flexible and efficient allocation of resource, enhanced development productivity. It lowers the cost of IT infrastructure, remote access and rapid scalability, high availability and disaster technology recovery, pay per use of IT infrastructure on demand. So enable the running multiple operating system. So this is the advantages of virtualization here. You can means the benefit or characteristic of virtualization. So let's discuss about the types of virtualization. So as you can see in the screen, application virtualization, network virtualization, desktop virtualization, storage virtualization, server virtualization, data virtualization, and this is the diagram which comes like desktop, application, network, and storage. So let's discuss about this point. So after the benefits, first of all, application virtualization. Application virtualization helps a user to have a remote access of an application from a server. The server stores, or one minute. Okay, So in application virtualization, helps a user to have a remote access of an application from a server. The server store all personal information and other characteristic of application, but can still run on local workstation through the internet. Example of this will be user who needs to run two different versions of same software technologies that use application virtualization are hosted application and package applications. Then network virtualization, the ability to run multiple virtual networks with each has a separate control and data plan. It coexists together on top of the one physical network. It can be managed by individual parties that potentially confidence to each other. Network virtualization provides a facility to create and provision virtual networks, logical switches, routers, firewall, load balancer, virtual private networks, and workload security within days or even in weeks. Then next, desktop virtualization. Desktop virtualization allow a user OS to be remotely stored on a server in the data center. It allows to user to access their desktop virtually from any location by a different machine user. User who wants specific operating system other than Windows Server will need to have a virtual desktop. Main benefits of desktop virtualization are user mobility, portability, easy management of software installation, update and up patches. Then about storage virtualization. Storage virtualization in this is a kind of virtualization in which you can just say that server resource take place. Here the central server, that is a physical server, is divided into multiple different virtual server by changing the identify number, processor. So each system can operate its own operating system in isolated manner. So operating system are operate in isolated manner and it's operate in own operating system own. Okay. So where each sub server knows the identity of a central server, it causes an increase in the performance and reduce the operating cost by the development of main server resource. Okay. And reduce the operating cost by the development of main server resource into sub-server resource. It beneficial in virtual migration, reduce energy consumption, reduce the infrastructure cost. So server virtualization is beneficial because in virtual migration it reduce the energy consumption, reduce and infrastructure cost. So this is a kind of virtualization which is a masking of server resources take place. Okay. Now after the server virtualization, let's discuss about data virtualization. So this is a kind of virtualization in which data is collected from various sources and managed that at the single place without knowing more about the technical informations like how data is collected, stored and formatted. Then arrange that data logically so that its virtual view can be accessed by it. Then interested people, the stakeholders and users through the various cloud services. Remotely, main big gained companies are providing their services like Oracle's, IBM, that is International Business Management, at scale, that so on. It can be used to performing various kind of tasks. So this all used for performing this all services used to perform the various kind of tasks like data integrations, then business integration, service oriented architecture, data service, searching organization data. So these are all used in the services are used in this under the data virtualization. Okay. Then after the this all types of virtualizations, let's discuss about characteristic of virtualization here. So here in this, you can see that characteristics are given here. Increase the security, management, executions, sharing, aggregations, the isolation, portability. So let's discuss. So characteristic of virtualization in increased security. The ability to control the execution of program in completely transparent manner opens new possibilities for delivering a secure control execution environment. All the operation of guest programs are generally performed against the virtual machine, which then translate and applies them to the host program. A virtual machine manager can control and filter an activity of guest programs, thus preventing some harmful operation from beginning. Perform resource exposed by the host can be hidden or simply protected from the guest. Increasing security is a requirement when dealing with the code. So security is required when the dealing with the code. Example, you can say that untrusted code can be analyzed in Kuko sandbox environment. The term of sandbox identify an isolated execution environment where infrastructure can be filtered and blocked before being translated and executed in the real execution environment. So the expression sandbox version of the Java virtual machine security policy and instruction, you can say that instructions are the considered potentially harmful can be blocked. So management execution here in particular sharing and aggregation emulation isolation and most resilient features. So then she okay, here management, then sharing. Now virtualization allows the creation of separate computing environment within a same cause. The basic feature is used to reduce the number of active server and limit power consumption. Then aggregation. It is possible to share physical resource among several guests, but virtualization also allow aggregation, which is opposite process. A group of separate hosts can be tied together and represent to guests as a single virtual host. This functionality is implemented with the cluster management software, which physical resource of a heterogeneous group of machines are and represent them as a single resource. Then emulations. Programs are executed within an environment that is controlled by the virtualization layer, which is ultimately is a program. Also, is a completely different environment. With the respect to the host, can be allowing the executions of guest program requiring specific characteristics that are present in the physical host. Then isolation. Virtualization allowing providing the guests whenever whether they are operating system, application or other entities with the completely separate environment in which they are executed. Yeah, they are done in isolation. The program performs its activity by interacting with the abstraction layer, which provides access to the underlying resource. The virtual machine can filter the activity of the guest and prevent harmful operations against the host. So beside this characteristic, another important capability able by virtualization is perform tuning. Turning this future is a reality at a present given the considerations advance. So here these futures is you can say that is a consideration advantages in hardware and software supporting virtualization. It becomes easier to control the performance of the guest by tuning the properties of the resources exposed through the virtual environment. This capacity provides a means effectively implement of service infrastructure. So portability. The concept of portability applies in different ways according to specific types of virtualization considered. In the case of hardware virtualization solution, the guest is a packaged into a virtual image that in most cases can be safely move on execute on the top of different virtual machine. In the case of programming level virtualization, as implementing by JVM or .NET runtime binary code representing. So application component like ZAR or assemblies can run without any on implementation of recompilations on any implementation of the corresponding virtual machines. So this types of after the characteristic of virtualization, we can see that increases how to increase security, how to manage for execution purpose, then sharing, aggregation, emulations, so then isolation and portability. Now next is the taxonomy of virtualization here. So let's discuss about taxonomy of virtualization. The taxonomy model demonstrates the various layers of virtual server architecture and virtualization domains in a structured way to combining desktop virtualization with application virtualization and user state virtualization hold interesting business opportunity. Okay, so what does taxonomy do? In simple word, the definition of taxonomy is a branch of science that deals primarily with the description, identification, and classification of organism. Okay, so this is the description, identification, and classification. It essentially classification living organism and define group and subgroup. So this is about science taxonomies. So let's discuss about the what is taxonomy on website. Okay, so website taxonomy is how website contain a classify, organize, connected, and relate. Good website taxonomy present content to your readers and search engine that makes it findable and purposeful. So, what is virtual server virtualization here? A server virtualization, that is you can see in this diagram, traditional server architecture, virtual server architecture, then application operating system, and these are given, right? So let's discuss about so what is server virtualization. So server virtualization is a technology which enables the creation of virtual instance of any operating system on virtual platform. Before server virtualization become mainstream, each individual operating system is require a physical platform, typically server with CPU, disks, memory, and other association hardware to host operating system. On the physical server, operating system has access to allow available computing resource of the host hardware. As the server have become more powerful, this approaches has powerful, very wasteful of hardware source. Okay, then let's discuss about uh, what are the examples of server virtualization. So types of server virtualization in computer network, para virtualization, full virtualization, hardware and kernel level virtualization. So server virtualization minimize cost by increasing the utilization of a resource. Yeah, then the cuts down on the number of physical servers need, minimize the management cost for those server as well as reducing the energy requirement needs to the run the server and provide the cooling of our servers. So let's discuss. Okay. So what are the implementation of server virtualization here? Limited implementation and licensing cost. One of the most benefits of server virtualization in cost saving. Virtual server data backup, spinning of virtual server is too easy and single point of failure. So here, what is application virtualization in cloud computing? Application virtualization is a technology that allows user to access and use an application from a separate computer than the one of which that the application is installed. For the user and experience, a virtualization app is the same as using the installed app on physical machines. So what are the types of application virtualization? So server virtualization, application virtualization, network virtualization, data desktop virtualization, and storage virtualization. So these are the types of application virtualization here, desktop. Okay, so let's discuss then. Okay, so desktop virtualization. What is the desktop virtualization in cloud computing? Desktop virtualization is a technology that let us users simulate a workshop load to access a desktop from connected device. It separates the desktop environment and its application from physical client device used to access it. So, what is desktop virtualization? User connected to a shared desktop that runs on server. Takes this client server approach. User may also connect it to individual application running on server. This technology is an example of application virtualization. Here, what happen? User connected to the desktop that runs on servers. Okay, and what happen here? User may also connect it to the individual application, and we have study about the client means client interface, right? In client interface matlab end user who can operate front end app or service provider which use means which deal with the connecting, which provide the database and which make this particular app. So for this purpose, they are dealing with the connection, coding and all. So here user may also connect it to individual application, that is a end user running on the server. This technology is an example of application virtualizations. So desktop virtualization here. So you can think of this as a project management tool, such as Slack. This method of virtualization is used to build systems that work as a workstation, but virtually user can use the virtual tool to manage work, coordinate their items, share information, and so on. It provides a desktop interface that hosts all users on a team. So by removing operating system and application concern from user device, desktop virtualization. So centralized security control with the hardware security needs limited virtualization service. So here you can say that identity means here the identity and access management with role-based permission that limited user only those application and data. So here, the desktop virtualization, that is a project management tool where method virtualization used to build system. So here desktop virtualization is used to build the system. So after the presentation virtualization, here we see have seen application, then the work of operating system, you know very well, hardware, we all are using, we are, if you want to work on application or software, so of course we require the hardware. Physical machine means you know your laptop, your in any device जिससे भी आप work कर सकते हो, it comes under the physical machine. So this is about the presentation virtualization, in which we have seen about storage, application, and so many concept we have seen here. So this is about your desktop virtualization, and you can say that this is a okay, so application virtualization. After this, we will move on the client virtualization here. So let's discuss about the client virtualization. So we can say that client virtualization. So we can say in this, yeah, in cloud computing, the work of client virtualization. So client virtualization is a virtual machine environment in the user machine, also called. So endpoint virtualization. The user computer hosts multiple VMS, each of which contain operating system and set of application. What is client virtualization used for? So computer client virtualization is specially used for in test or development environment. So client virtualization is used for development environment and for testing purpose. So you know if you do any project, so you require teams. Some means in teams we divided the teams like some team 4 or 5 team members using working on the designing, 4 or 5 members are working on you can say that coding designing, and after this some people can work as a tester. Okay, so here this client virtualization is useful in test or development environment. So it allows system administrator and software developers to install and test application while isolated from machines, thus not placing their networks at risk. So what is client and desktop virtualization? Desktop virtualization abstract client software from physical, this client which connected to application and data remotely. Typically via the internet, this abstraction enables user to utilize any number of devices to access their virtual desktop. So what are the benefits of client virtualization? So four main benefit desktop virtualization for business user includes here increase the simplicity of the IT department, improve the employee productivity, reduce downtime for employees and new deployments, improve connectivity of operations for business, then accounting for monitor, right? So, which is a challenge? Which is the challenge of virtualization in cloud computing? So, uh, deployment resource performance availability suffer in, input output intensive operation get you can say down to the virtualization translation layer. So saturations of network card and software switch on the physical host cause perform issues, reduce bandwidth and increase the latency. So this is all about your client virtualization here. So in this lecture we have studied about desktop virtualization, then what is the server virtualization we have studied, right? Then taxonomy of virtualization, so I give the example in daily life science as a regarding, yeah, which is comes in science. Then after we move on our cloud, right? Then characteristic of virtualization we have studied, and these types we have studied: increasing security, how to manage, how to share, aggregation, then this all. Then after we have studied about the types of virtualization. So application means what, how to work network in cloud computing, desktop virtualization working in cloud computing, storage, you know very well, is we always used to storage purpose only. Then server, it is the main centralized server, yeah, you can say, right? Server means you know very well. Then and data virtualization, which is the, you know very well, it is comes under informations all, and how to use data through virtualizations, what the work of data virtualization we have studied. Then after main concept of virtualization, here you can see application is there, operating system is there, libraries is given here, and then here is a host and server hardware and virtualization. So this is all about your virtualization. This is your second unit in cloud computing. Okay, so we started the second unit here. First unit we have completed. Okay, if you're having any queries regarding first unit and this one, then you can contact me. You have my contact number also. Okay. Okay, so today's lecture is over here. Thank you.